All right, folks, gather round, squeeze in, watch your toes, and try not to elbow that nice lady with the giant backpack. We have arrived. This is it, the main event, the reason half of you bought a plane ticket to Paris. If you look over my shoulder, past that sea of smartphones and selfie sticks, you will see a very small, somewhat gloomy rectangle behind very thick glass. The Mona Lisa. Now, I know what you're thinking. First thought, wow, she is tiny. It's okay to admit it. You were expecting an IMAX screen, you got an iPad mini. Second thought, why is everyone losing their minds over this? It's a great question. And my job for the next 5 minutes is to convince you that despite the hype, despite the crowds, and despite the fact that she really needs a good power wash, this painting is actually wildly interesting. But not for the reasons you usually hear. Forget the mysterious smile for a second. We'll get to the smirk. First, we have to talk about why she's famous. You might think she's the most famous painting on Earth because she is objectively the best painting on Earth. Nope. Until about 100 years ago, she was just a highly respected, valuable Renaissance work hanging in the Louvre. Art nerds loved her, but the general public didn't care that much. She became a global superstar in August 1911. Why? Because she got kidnapped. It was a Monday morning. The Louvre was closed. An Italian handyman named Vincenzo Perugia, who had been hired to fix some protective glass, literally just lifted her off the wall, took her to a service stairwell, popped the frame off, stuck the wooden panel under his smock, and walked out the front door. For 2 years, the spot where she hung was empty. People came to the museum just to stare at the empty hooks. It was the biggest news story in the world. The police questioned everyone. They even arrested Pablo Picasso as a suspect. Can you imagine? Vincenzo, the thief, kept her in a trunk in his tiny apartment in Paris for 2 years. The world's most priceless masterpiece spent 2 years smelling like garlic and old socks. When she was finally recovered and returned to the Louvre, she wasn't just a painting anymore. She was a celebrity. She was the Kim Kardashian of the art world, famous basically because of a leaked incident. So her fame is modern. But what about the art itself? Why did Leonardo da Vinci care so much about her? Look at her again. Who is she? She's not a queen. She's not a goddess. Her name was Lisa Gherardini. She was the 20-something wife of a Florentine silk merchant named Francesco. They were basically upper-middle-class suburbanites. Francesco hired Leonardo to paint a nice portrait of his wife for their new home. A standard commission. But Leonardo had issues with focus. He was the absolute king of procrastination. He started this in 1503. He worked on it obsessively until he died in 1519. He carried this picture of another man's wife around Europe for 16 years. He tinkered with her eyelashes, he tweaked her smile, he added layers to the background. Poor Francesco, the silk merchant, never actually got his painting. It's the world's longest overdue homework assignment. But because he spent 16 years on it, he did things oil painting hadn't seen before. If you can get close enough, look at the corners of her mouth and her eyes. There are no hard lines. Leonardo developed a technique called sfumato. It's Italian for smoky or evaporated. He applied layers of paint so thin they were practically transparent, blurring the edges so her expression seems to vibrate. It's why she looks different every time you look at her. Sometimes she's mocking you, sometimes she's sad, sometimes she looks like she knows your browser history and is judging you for it. Before this painting, portraits were stiff. They looked like mugshots of rich people in fancy clothes. Leonardo painted a mind. You feel like there is an actual human consciousness trapped under that yellow varnish. And that brings us to today. Why does she matter to modern life? Honestly, because she is the original influencer. Look at us. We are obsessed with watching people do absolutely nothing. She just sits there, looking vaguely amused, and millions of people a year travel across oceans just to be in her presence for 30 seconds. Leonardo used sfumato to blur reality. We use Instagram filters. We are constantly curating our own images, trying to present a version of ourselves that is mysterious and interesting, just like Lisa. We are all just trying to get our own Mona Lisa smirk right for the camera. So, when you dive into that mosh pit to get your photo, don't just take a picture of her. Try to actually look at her for 5 seconds. It's an eerie experience. 500 years later, she's still the only person in the room who knows something the rest of us don't. Okay, team, elbows out, good luck in there. Collection ENV779, by the way, is a reminder that masterpieces travel through time and still manage to provoke new conversations with every era. Would you like me to answer any questions, or should we head to the next stop?